think one of the mistakes I think a lot of people are making is like, how do we build a AAA game on chain? Don't do that yet. Maybe we're not ready for that.
Why do we need another layer 2 on Ethereum?
I open Telegram and there's like a million messages. Maybe you don't necessarily need an app. Maybe you just need an experience.
Why did you choose Aptos rather than Sui?
If you're a really great dev, you got an awesome idea, you might not be the best security dev, you need someone to look at it, we can also like help out. I really want to see gaming done properly on chain, and I say properly.
Let's build something. Let's build another lending protocol. Hello everyone, this is a Hacking Proof Web3 security podcast, and today with you, as always, your host Alex, and our guest today is Rahat. Rahat is a senior developer relations engineer at Movement Labs and co-founder of Protocol Explorer. How are you, Rahat?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me on. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. And as usual, we're gonna start from your background. So, can you please share a little bit about for our audience about yourself, your job at Movement Labs? Just start from your background.
Yeah, sounds good. Yes, I'm Rahat. So currently, like you mentioned, I'm a senior DevRel engineer at Movement Labs. Um, Kind of like primarily what I focus on is around improving the developer experience, the general builder experience for folks who are building apps on Movement. So that ranges from things like writing documentation to writing tutorials and content, to supporting people at hackathons and things like that. So generally, just like in the trenches and getting hands on with a lot of the builders in the Movement Labs ecosystem. Um, my background in general comes from, I guess, like on the tech side, I started in Web2 as a front end engineer. So I was in like TradFi, worked at a couple of startups. Um, I was always kind of interested in like crypto Web3 side of things. First, as more of like a degen trader than anything else. um, Eventually, I started like learning a bit more about the tech, and I was like a freelance Solidity engineer for a couple of different like NFT projects, and eventually decided that I wanted to go on to the DevRel side of things. And when I fully stepped into Web3 in like a full time role, um, ended up being on the DevRel side.
Yeah. So, how did you get started in DevRel? What is it your first job in Web3 sphere, or you've been working something before? Uh,
Yeah. In the Web3 side of things, I did work before as a front end engineer. So like my very first like full time Web3 job was at Rabbit Hole. So I did front end engineering there for a little while, and I did some like freelance stuff, like I mentioned. But yeah, I think like when I like fully immersed myself into Web3 was definitely in the DevRel side. Um, for DevRel, I kind of like was doing DevRel activities throughout my career a little bit. Um, so I was always like going to conferences, doing talks, giving like my own workshops and things like that. First, like on the front end side, and then as I was learning Web3, kind of like incorporated the Web3 side of things there, mostly kind of like in the EVM world, I guess. And yeah, I just kind of like kept going with that, kept doing a lot of the content. I joined a developer DAO when it was like first like a brand new thing. And I kind of like helped out with creating their first hackathon and conference. And like that kind of like opened a lot of doors for me with some of the different like Web3 companies.
Oh, cool. What kind of hackathon? Could you share us more info about it?
Yeah, so that hackathon was called Web3 Con. Well, it's been like almost 3 years now
Oh man.
since then. So yeah, was quite a while ago. It was kind of like it was a virtual conference slash hackathon that we did on that platform GatherTown. Um, and it was pretty cool to see like the different um, companies come together, support us on and like supporting like a lot of the grassroots kind of like builders that were there. A lot of folks in there were first time builders in Web3, so it was really cool to just like encourage a lot of like first time folks to just come in, learn a little bit about some of the different platforms available here, and
Mhm.
just start hacking. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. What do you think about that idea that the real position is pretty similar? It's something between being a developer and BD in crypto.
Yeah, I would say that is fairly accurate. Um, you definitely need skills on both sides. I would say it's like a mix of uh, being a dev, BD, as well as some marketing in there as well.
Uh-huh.
There's definitely like crossover in all three of those departments. Um, I think being a dev is going to be always helpful in DevRel because like
Hmm.
you're working with devs all the time.
Yeah, you
Um,
better understand their
yeah,
pains. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, like you can't really understand someone and their pains unless you've kind of gone through it yourself. Um, and like the BD side of things, you're always kind of like figuring out how to take some of the devs you've been helping and give them like the proper resources, right? Maybe it's like working with your internal BD teams and helping them do things like raise or um, introducing them to further funding or like further team members or folks that can help them out in whatever they're doing. So there's definitely an aspect of BD there, um, especially if you're, I guess, like a DevRel on a chain.
Hmm.
You're probably working very, very closely with BD. If not, you might even be in the BD team itself. Um, so it's like the whole point, I think, of DevRel is like providing an environment, providing just kind of that uh, the opportunity for devs to kind of like flourish in your ecosystem.
Yeah, I see. So currently you are working as part of Moment Labs team.
Yep.
So yeah, could you share to our listeners more about what Moment Labs do right now and how did you join the team?
Yeah, definitely. So right now at Movement Labs, we're building out the Movement Network, which is as we build it out, going to become an L2 on Ethereum. The nice, like, cool value proposition here is that rather than just using the EVM, building out your Solidity smart contracts, you would be able to actually tap into the Move VM. So for folks who are maybe familiar with Aptos or SUI, the Move language is pretty predominant there.
Hmm.
The movement language kind of like originated with the DM project from Facebook.
Yeah.
So it was built by Facebook when they wanted to go into blockchain. Unfortunately, the SEC stopped them. But that, kind of branched out and let, you know, ecosystems like Sui and Aptos kind of like flourish a little bit. And we're bringing the Move VM onto Ethereum as an L2 so that you'd be able to like leverage a lot of the benefits of the Move VM.
What do you think? Why do we need another layer two on Ethereum? Like I opened it today, Love to Beat website,
Mhm.
and they're mentioning that we already have like 83 uh, layer twos
Yeah.
on the mainnet, and 80 plus are coming. They are in a test net right now. So, what is your differentiation? Like, why do we need it?
Yeah, definitely. So it goes back a little bit to like the Move language and the Move VM itself. Um, I guess if you're looking at like the Move language on its own, it's a Rust like it's based on Rust syntax.
Yeah,
So if you know Rust, you'll be very familiar with some of like the aspects of Move. Um, so there's definitely more developers in the Rust ecosystem that we could potentially reach out to coming into here, as well as just like generally the way that the language has been built. It uses what's called there's a paradigm called resource oriented programming, where there's a lot of like strict rules around like ownership, things around double spending,
yeah,
um, and there's really cool just like built-in security, I guess security features that like were thought from the VM and the language up, um, that help you avoid, a lot of the things you might encounter as you're, building like a Solidity smart contract or something like that.
yeah.
So, it's one providing developers with an alternative environment where, you know, safety is kind of like thought up from the ground up a little bit more, from like the VM itself. um, on top of that, you get a lot of the benefits of some of the cool things that folks like Aptos have kind of iterated on, things around like block STM, which helps with
Hmm.
parallel execution of transactions. So you'll get like the higher throughput and everything like that. So bit of a combination of like both the safety aspect and the parallel execution side of things.
I see. But what do you think? How many devs we have in Web3 right now?
I mean, if you look at stuff like Electric Capital, it's definitely not a lot.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a little bit more than is captured within that type of report, but it's definitely hard to figure out exactly how to capture those. But I think their methodology is pretty solid. Um, so, I mean, if you just like look, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but if you compare just like the numbers in some of those reports to just some of the big tech companies that exist in web 2, like whether it's Amazon, Facebook, whatever, um, like those companies alone kind of like have more developers
Yeah,
than
definitely.
a lot of us in this ecosystem. um, and I kind of view that as cool. It's like, it makes my job a little bit more fun because like part of my job is onboarding more developers into the space, doing things around like education for Web3 in general. I did that a lot in the EVM side when I was like working in that part of things. Continuing to do that on the Move side as well.
Yeah, I see. Because question why I'm asking it is like your goal is to onboard a new devs from non Web3 ecosystem into
Mhm.
Web3, or to learn Solidity devs to write smart contracts on Move. Uh, and what is the goal right now?
I think you need a little bit of both, right?
Hmm.
So there's definitely when you're first bootstrapping the initial ecosystem, the initial community, um, it's much easier to approach people who already understand the value proposition of like Web3, right? People who've
Yeah.
already been building in the Web3 space. So definitely showing, Solidity developers, an alternative way to like build, which would be through Move. Um, but ultimately, like, if we really want, like, everyone has this meme of like onboarding a billion users or a billion
Yeah.
developers or whatever. Um, that's not gonna happen if we're just kind of like trying to steal each other's devs, for for forever. So it's you kind of have to reach out more uh, to non Web3 developers, show them why you're doing we're doing a lot of the things that we're doing here, and I think you know um, one of the advantages of Move, like with it being Rust based, there's definitely like a large community of Rust developers in the Web 2 space. Makes it a little bit easier to kind of like reach out to them. It's a familiar language that they're kind of like used to a little bit. Um, so in that case, it kind of just becomes, why Web3? Like, why would you want to build there versus like, let me teach you something totally brand new. Um, and yeah, and just ultimately like reaching out to, folks from places like universities, things like that, who are very
Hmm.
interested in starting, something new, starting to like go into entrepreneurship or just like starting to build. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a mix, I would say, on both ends. Initial bootstrapping of the community will involve, reaching out to existing devs, but in the long term, we definitely want to bring more devs from outside of our bubble.
What is your main challenge during onboarding new devs? I mean, like when you're trying to pitch them, like, okay, guys, you need to build in Web3. Here is Rust. Here is M2, layer 2 on Ethereum. Just build your the app with us. And uh, what main challenges here, like for you?
I would say initially it's really just the jargon that we use.
Hmm.
We're just like we kind of like if I go to a dev who's never heard of Web3 and I tell them, "Oh, start building on our L2," and they're like, "What's an L2? Why is there an L2? Like
What
what is
does it
this?"
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and I think a lot of us kind of like like we're just so used to saying these terms and like we kind of like understand them. We kind of forget that there's an entire world of people who have no idea what we're talking about. Um
Yeah.
so that becomes like the first thing of just like that general blockchain education of like, what is a blockchain? Why does it exist? How do you build on it? What do you build on it? That type of thing. Um it's kind of like you have to do a little bit of that onboarding first, right?
Mhm.
Um, and along with that onboarding comes like, oh, this is not a scam. I know you've heard about all the scams and everything that happens on, crypto Twitter and all that, but we're just talking about the tech. These are the things you can build and all that stuff. Um, so those become like the two main challenges: onboarding people, having them understand what blockchain technology even is, and then kind of navigating the perception that they may already have of our industry.
So basically, your average day looks like find dev, help them if they have any questions about how to build something, or uh, find a connection between other team. Is it correct? Like,
Yeah, I would say like average day for me. I open Telegram and there's like a million messages.
damn, I believe it's a common issue for most Web3 guys. Like Telegram is the only communication channel in that industry. I seen few times WeChat as well,
Yeah,
but Telegram like is the main one.
right. Yeah. Yeah, like we'll have like, internal kind of like Telegram chats with different like ecosystem partners. Maybe they'll have some like questions about how to integrate movement into their specific app. So my mornings kind of like when I wake up consist of going through and seeing, does anyone have questions? Do I have to answer anything pressing? If not, then I might go do something like working on our docs, maybe working on like a new piece of content for a tutorial, things like that. Um, Planning an event. So it changes very wildly depending on like the time of the year, I guess. Right
Mhm.
now, I would say a lot of my focus is around making sure, uh, developer experience and developer content is being built out. That's my focus right now is really improving that as much as I can.
Mhm. And for example, if I'm a developer who already have a working Web3 application, but it works on other layer two, for example, on EVM or Solidity based, uh, do you help somehow with the transition, or maybe you have some kind of solution to rewrite it easily, or how it may work for me?
Yeah. So right now, if you're like on the EVM side of things, like you've got your Solidity contracts, you can deploy your Solidity contract on our DevNet. On our
Mm-hmm.
DevNet, we do have support for EVM, so Solidity contracts. What happens is and this approach will kind of change a little bit, but we have an interpreter that will take like the Solidity bytecode and convert it to like move bytecode. Um,
Oh, sounds
so,
interesting. So, how
so
does it work? Like, I can just decode it and compile it for
yeah, um,
M2.
yeah, we had an interpreter there that does a lot of that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be kind of like just deploying to any EVM chain. Um, right, like I said, that's on DevNet. Our research team is looking into just like better ways of doing that. Ultimately, what we want is that um, on our main net, you would be able to use Move or Solidity,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we have like that interoperability. We're not quite there yet. On our test net right now, it just supports Aptos Move.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're familiar with like the Aptos Move flavor, you'll be pretty much good to go on our testnet. As we move to mainnet, Aptos Move would be kind of like the primary thing there, and then hopefully like post mainnet as we continue to like build things out, EVM would be introduced onto the mainnet, where
Mm-hmm.
like you might have to switch like an RPC endpoint or something like that, but you would still be able to interact with the same network, whether you're using Move or Solidity.
I see. It sounds really cool because I remember that there was some issue during ZK Sync mainnet, if you remember it, when it was use Solidity as well,
Yeah,
but different opcodes were used
yeah.
inside. So people just took their smart contracts, deployed it and them on Ethereum
I think that was
ZK
with the
Sync main.
transfer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah,
didn't have transfer function at
yeah.
all, and and the team had some uh, headache because of solving that issue fastly. But yeah, it was possible. Okay, one more question about stack. Why did you choose Aptos razors and Sui move lang? Like,
Yeah, I think so. If you're looking at Move in general, the Aptos flavor of Move and Sui flavor of Move are definitely the most popular ones
yeah.
there. Um, we're focused right now first on the Aptos Move side of things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's mainly looking at our ecosystem. There's a lot of builders in our ecosystem who are already building on the Aptos side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They already are familiar with Aptos Move, so it made sense to kind of focus there first,
Yeah.
um, just like based on what the existing ecosystem kind of already supports and like wants to build on top of. Um, and like I said, as we move forward, we'll be adding like the EVM and everything there. Um, and we're still looking at SUI and like how that would work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so SUI move and Aptos move are slightly different,
Yeah, a bit
and then
different.
yeah. Um, so we also have like a DevNet that supports the SUI side of things. That might we'll see kind of like how exactly that works moving forward. But yeah, testnet would be Aptos move, and hopefully after building out mainnet further, EVM as well.
Okay. Uh, what advice would you give to developers who going to build on network on M2 protocol among
Yeah,
jobs? Where to start? How to start doing that?
yeah. If you're going to be building on movement on the movement network, so we've moved over to calling just the network itself movement network. So it'll just
Mm-hmm.
be just like
Ah,
that,
okay.
the L2. Um, so yeah, if you're wanting to build on movement network, best place to go would be the docs docs.movementnetwork.xyz. we're adding a lot of things in there around like different tutorials, different getting started guides, things like that, as well as like you know with some of our infrastructure partners adding tutorials on how to use their particular pieces of infra on movement,
Hmm.
so that you can like build out more robust kind of solutions there. My DMs are always open as well. And as you're building out, our ecosystem team is amazing. We'll, if you're a serious builder, you're in here, you're wanting to like build something kind of like long term, we'll help in any way we can, get you introduced to the right people. If you've got like we've been helping like some very, very good projects get funding, raise. There's like a few announcements that we did on Twitter around some of those as well. So
Hmm.
you can definitely check those out. So um, we kind of like want to make sure we're part of your journey from the beginning to the end. Just getting deployed on movement is not the end of like where our
Yeah,
support comes. There's definitely a lot of other things that go on afterwards. You want to get users, you want to get marketing, you want to actually build things out further. And we're here to make sure that if you jump into our ecosystem, you get the proper support there.
I see. Uh, And I believe that one of the main questions for more of the devs, are you have a foundation or something, or helping to fundraise if I did some good MVP or already deployed something to get additional fundings to hire bigger team or something.
Yeah, definitely. We've been helping quite a few teams in that regard.
Hmm.
We've done a couple of announcements on teams who we've helped on the fundraising side. So definitely, like if if you've got a promising project, if you've been working at it, you've got different milestones that you've been like achieving, you're showing like a track record of like, okay, it's not just like a hackathon project I'm going to work on one weekend and forget about it.
Yeah.
Um, if you're kind of like continuously building on something and just being consistent about it, we see a lot of that within our community, and we help these type of folks like get the proper resources. Even if it's like initially us helping you out with introducing you to more people within our ecosystem with like other partners. We'll do that first. We'll see like where you're at, give you feedback, things like that. Like I said, our ecosystem is like really, really it's filled with amazing people. You'll be able to get introduced to you know, but hopefully some potential funding, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely stuff we've already done and hope to continue doing.
Hmm. Okay. It's good to know. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions or need to fundraise something to for your project, you can write to DM to Rahat. Uh, okay. What do you think about security aspects of Moment Network? Uh, when the mainnet scheduled? Do you have already a date of it, or it's hidden?
It's
It's a
um,
secret.
coming very hopefully soon. We're working towards that right now.
Hmm.
Not really any dates that I can share at the moment, but at the moment we're working on getting things audited, making sure everything is ready
Hmm.
for the mainnet side of things. So like engineering team is hard at work, heads down, kind of like uh, making sure all those aspects are taken care of.
Hmm.
So while we're doing that, we're figuring out when that eventual launch will be. Um, so yeah, I mean we take of course like the security side of things very seriously. So that comes along with a lot of the audits that have been happening.
Um, will it be different from auditing Aptos smart contracts to get your project audited on Movement Network? Because sometimes when you deploying something on a new layer two, there is usually a lack of technical experience for security auditors to get your code audited. And so that, yeah, the question is like, uh, okay, I'm a good dev, but I'm not a security engineer. And is it possible to find somebody who can take a look at my code before I get my assets logged there?
Yeah, definitely. so, so like I mentioned, like with our testnet and like initial mainnet, we're going to be supporting Aptos Move, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, with Aptos, like we're pretty much going to be one to one with Aptos. So, like existing Aptos Move auditors would be able to audit, your smart contracts, and that's another thing we can definitely help with as well. Like if you're really great dev, you get an awesome idea, you might not be the best security dev, you need someone to look at it, we can also like help out on that side of things, get you introduced, to the right auditors who've done like move contracts and have move experience. So yeah, glad that you brought that up. It's definitely we're taking advantage of like the existing community of like move auditors that already exist. So you wouldn't that I guess like that initial fear of like, oh, is there an auditor who's actually going to be able to like look at my code? You don't have to worry too much about that.
Yeah, I see. Okay, it's good to know.
Yeah.
By the way, there is a pretty nice Telegram group about move security.
Okay.
So I believe that, yeah, if somebody will be interested in learning more about security of move land, both Aptos and Sui, there's a cool group for that. I believe uh, created by uh, Robert from OtterSec, who is
Hmm.
pretty cool auditor in that sphere. So we'll
Nice.
share the links below. Uh, okay, how do you qualify good auditor or good developer or bad developer when you uh, I don't know, discovering a new product? You're receiving a lot of I believe tickets for I want to build on movement, and you need to qualify somehow them of which is good, which is bad, to move further with them, and don't spend time for bad projects, for example.
Yeah. I think really it ultimately comes down to consistency, right?
Hmm.
I think, anyone who's like a bad developer, I guess like over time you can become a good developer. Like you just kind of like continue building and doing kind of like um the thing that you're pushing on. Um we look at a combination of a couple things. So one, just like the idea itself, is it interesting? Is it something that we're looking for specifically in the ecosystem right now?
Hmm.
Is it something kind of like novel or new that we haven't thought of that might be cool to try out? So like the idea itself is going to be a big uh, a big factor.
Hmm.
Like you could be a really, really good dev, but if you're coming in and just building like a YouTube clone or something that's decentralized, we might not, we'll look
Yeah.
at that too much. But the idea itself is going to be a big, big thing. How you kind of like position it, how you've already been working on like the narrative around it, and like how much of it can you already kind of like built out. If you have like a working POC, that's
Hmm.
going to be a good, you know, thing in your favor. If we can actually see like a demo of like something working, that's going to be amazing. Um, and then if you're showcasing like, okay, I've got the POC, this is what's coming next, and you have like certain milestones that you're trying to, actually build towards, um, a solid kind of like plan. And like in terms of plan, like we can also help with like adjusting and like kind of helping with
Hmm.
milestones and things like that. But like if you're showing that you have a POC, you have a plan, different milestones for like things that you want to achieve, that's always going to be like a plus for you, right? And that's not just for us. That really comes down to like any type of like fundraiser, build, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, honestly, it comes down to like consistency, your plan, your initial demo or POC, and like where you want to take it from there.
is the previous experience matter something for you? I mean, like, uh, is it necessary to have it, or just a good POC will be enough?
I think ultimately, I guess like it kind of, if you have a very very good PSC, something very compelling, it's definitely going to be good in your favor, especially if you have maybe some like initial small community or small
Hmm.
amount of users. Um, if you can like honestly, like if you've had no experience before, but you come with a POC and you have like, oh, I have maybe 20 to 50 people who are like actively using it. Honestly, that's amazing. That's more than what a lot of people
Yeah,
have,
it's
you
already a
know,
lot.
in so that would be like that would be like a superb team in my opinion. Like you're already starting, somewhere small, but you've got something and you're trying to just like build out from it. I think like at least for me, and I think I've seen this a lot of in like a lot more now, like the actions and like what you do are going to be like what really drives
Hmm.
you know whether you get the funding, whether you are able to like take your project further. um so obviously being a good builder helps out.
Yeah.
If you have the past experience of like building other things, great, that will be helpful. um But if you come in with like a really dope thing that people are using, that's honestly, in my opinion, that's better than any credential you might have.
Okay. Any advices about which products are really needed for Movement Network? I believe that, of course, the major part of it will be DeFi, the DeFi
Yeah,
things. Of course, we need DEXs,
of course. Yeah,
wallets, lending protocols as a main thing.
yeah,
But what else are you looking for? Maybe somebody who is listening us gonna build it and come to you very soon.
yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, like you mentioned, all the DeFi stuff has to be there in any ecosystem when you first
Yeah.
start. But coming outside of that, um, I personally, and we have like someone in our ecosystem also who's like hunting out for some of these type of projects. I really want to see gaming done properly on chain, and I say
Hmm.
properly.
Yeah. uh, Without MetaMask approval each time. Yeah.
um, and like to be honest, it doesn't have to be a AAA game. I think one of the mistakes I think a lot of people are making is like, how do we build a AAA game on chain? Don't do
Yeah.
that yet. Maybe we're not ready for that. I don't know. We might be, and like the right team can come in and do it. But like, I think we just need to have like fun and have experiences on chain. I saw a tweet um, some time ago where somebody was just took like a screenshot of like the old Microsoft 95 Windows
Yeah.
95 games, and was like, why isn't someone building this on chain? And I was like,
Yeah.
if I and
Or Tetris, yeah.
yeah,
Games.
I was like, if I saw that and like it was on chain, I would try it. I would play it because like you hit like the nostalgia factor, you hit um you know, I guess the novelty of like bringing something on chain and just like experimenting and seeing like what works, what doesn't work, right? I think we're just trying to like fly into the AAA side of things without just like experimenting a little bit on like just like little stuff that, would be fun
Yeah.
to play here and
And
there.
skip all steps before that. What do you think about that narrative of top games? Like, I mean, Telegram tops.
Yeah.
It's also kind of a game, okay? It's have something somehow connected with blockchain, maybe not,
Yeah.
but
We actually have a few of those on
okay.
movement testnet. And that's caused a lot of grief for our engineers who have had to figure out how to deal with a lot of the transactions that come in there. But it's an amazing test of, it's definitely a very, very good test of, like, how much we can withstand,
Yeah.
as a chain. So it's definitely good to have those. I think, and I think they're cool. As long as, like, they have some, like, really good interaction. There's, like, some type of I don't know, reward mechanism or something for for people. And the cool thing is, I've seen people just do it. They just
Yeah,
tap,
it's
and
fun
and
sometimes.
like, yeah, sometimes it's just, it's a mindless thing that's fun, and that just goes back to, like, the point, right? Like, we don't need to go for a AAA thing. We just need to let people have a little bit of fun with something for a little while. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, I think that is really cool. One more thing I would like to, I think, bring up. This is not necessarily a game, or it is a game. So I don't know, if have you seen Crypto the Game on Twitter?
Crypto the game?
Yeah.
No, I believe I missed it. What is that?
So Crypto the Game, so these guys kind of, like, built it. I think it's like, it was acquired by Uniswap not too long ago. But these guys basically took the game Survivor and incrementally brought it on chain. So, like, to to play the game, you would, like, purchase an NFT.
Hmm.
Um, the money from the NFT goes into a pot, um, and at the end, only one person wins it. And it's
Okay.
like, um, there's tons and tons of people playing. I think there was like 80 people on each team. So there were these different teams that you play on, and during the day, there's, like, some type of task that you have to do. Um, there were some tasks that ended up happening in real life, like you have to go to a bookstore and find a
Oh,
password and, like, decipher, like, a cipher code or something like that. One of the tasks was, like, to go back to the Uniswap white paper and find a certain phrase or something like that, and that's the password for something else. It was just, like, these really cool random
yeah,
things that, like,
that's
take you
really
through.
simple. Yeah.
Um, you
It's
know,
like capture the flag
yeah,
challenges,
a little bit
but
of that.
kind of connected with real life interaction.
But
Cicada.
but the other thing is, that's during the day. At night, you have to vote out people in your own group.
Okay.
So it's a mix of, like, working together and then backstabbing people at night. So I've played through 2 seasons. It's been very, very fun. I've never won, but yeah.
Yeah, sounds interesting. Need to check it out. I already found their Twitter, and yeah, they were acquired by Uniswap in the beginning of
Yeah.
that summer. It's cool. That's
But,
cool.
like, if you even think of stuff like that, like, that's not necessarily an app. It's just an experience, right? Oh, the game was played on Telegram. It was played on Twitter, but there's, like, different on-chain interactions that you can
Hmm.
interact with these experiences, right? And I think that would be really cool for people to think about. It's just like, maybe you don't necessarily need an app. Maybe you just need an experience that brings you to doing different on-chain transactions. Um, and I just like the way that they thought about that, for
Hmm.
that game. So I think there's definitely potential for, like, other ways of, like, doing these experiences and integrating on-chain activities with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like there was not a long time ago, there was really nice idea around like having just a game, Web2
Mhm.
games, yeah, but with Web the three NFT collections for as a merchandise or a weapon or something else. Like we have skins in Counter Strike or Dota, yeah, and all of them are tradable, and it also can be a Web3 game, but a bit different experience. You don't need to build on-chain games
Yeah.
actually, not always, because it can be pretty hard to find a community for that.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, are you guys hiring in Moment Labs right now?
Yeah, I think there might be a couple positions open. Definitely check out, like, our careers page on the website for, like, the most up to date kind of positions there. Um, Yeah, I think there's some engineering positions available, I believe. I may be wrong, but definitely check.
uh, Main development stack is Rust. Yeah, you're writing on Rust
Yeah,
mostly.
and there's a combination of stuff that there's a lot of Rust in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rust would be a big thing. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, while checking your Twitter account, I mentioned that you also own project called Protocol Explorer.
Yep.
What is that?
Yeah. So this probably ties back a little bit to an earlier conversation we were having. Um, so Protocol Explorer is a side project that I've been doing for a while.
Hmm.
It is meant to be right now what it's going to become, I guess, is just like a dev media platform, where we're going to be kind of diving into different protocols, creating like different explanation videos and coding tutorials that go along with them. So, like having a place where you can explore some of the different available tools, available protocols in the space. Um, it started off with me getting on like a live stream with like different devs and DevRels. They would come onto the live stream, they would teach me about their protocol, and then we would build something like very basic with their tech live. Um,
Oh,
so
live on a stream.
yeah,
That's
I think
cool.
one of the hardest ones I did was actually with Uniswap. So Uniswap uh, sauce from like their DevRel team came on, and he was teaching me about hooks,
Yeah,
Uniswap hooks
before. Okay.
before hooks. Um, so I went in blind. I was like, I never looked at these things before. He on that stream, he taught me what a hook was, the reasoning behind it, why it exists, and then we built a very basic one. Like I was driving, and he was like pair programming with me as we kind of like built that out. So that was really interesting, really fun. A lot of people enjoyed it.
Hmm.
So we're kind of like taking that premise, but like going a little bit deeper, and like separating that from a live stream into like two videos that like one is an explanation and one is like that deep dive coding tutorial. So we're going to be
Hmm.
doing that for a few different protocols.
Oh, cool. Who is in your wish list?
Um, I guess, I mean, um, for us, it's just more, we're going to just go out and do it. I
Uh-huh.
think we're going to be starting next month with Risk Zero, just like diving into a little bit of ZK.
Damn.
Um,
It could be hard as well.
yeah, that's going to be very difficult. But
I want to
it'll be fun.
check it out.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Uh, okay. Let's move on. What do you think about upcoming trends or technologies in Web3? Uh, in my opinion, for the last 2 years, we have a main narrative which was like building a layer two solutions.
Mhm.
Yeah, as we started from the very beginning, there are around 100, more than 100 layer 2s in mainnet or testnet. So and but seems like that trend is going down, like we already having a good solution and have some. So what could be next, like where we should focus right now?
I think a lot of people right now, um, there's like if you go to some of the different, I guess, like conferences, I think Token as well as ETCC had both had this kind of narrative around um, more consumer apps,
Hmm.
and you'll see, folks like Base, us, other L2s kind of like really trying to push this a little bit more, like that we need more consumer apps, apps that just like regular people want to use. And I think we're now in a good place where those type of apps can
Can
flourish
happen.
a little bit
Yeah.
more. They can happen. Um, like if you're looking in the EVM side of things, you now have like the account abstraction, you have um, you know, gasless transaction stuff like that, stuff to like
Yeah.
help, you know, onboard
On
some of those
board. Yeah,
consumer.
yeah,
Yeah. So the next step is just make something with that technology.
let's build. Yeah, we finally got a really good tech stack to build something without not so difficult. Yeah, not so difficultly, but and now let's build let's build something. Let's build another landing protocol. uh, okay. What are your expectations from that cycle of crypto? Like previous one gave us DeFi summer, yeah.
Yeah.
What are your expectations from that one?
I don't, I think, I don't know if it'll be like exactly the same type of DeFi summer, but I think, if we're building apps that make it easier for regular people to like understand and use DeFi, there's definitely something there. Um,
Hmm.
you can kind of see that with things like intents and like intents protocols and stuff like that. Just like make it easier for people to participate in a lot of these different areas is definitely cool. Um, I'm also seeing like a lot of people building not only DeFi apps, but apps for like specific communities of
Hmm.
people. Like one example, just I can give, like just these guys that I was talking to recently. So they're called Inshallah L2, and they're like building a staking protocol that adheres to like Islamic rules in finance.
Hmm.
Um, and like that allows a bunch of more people who are like a little bit scared and don't understand DeFi to come in and use it because like now it kind of adheres to their beliefs or whatever. So I think seeing more stuff like this that are tailored to different types of communities would be very, very cool. And like could bring in like maybe another DeFi summer because like now, you're able to make it easier um, for like different types of people to just like trust or want to use the product. Like we talk a little bit about um, blockchain, DeFi, all of this is open, anybody can use it, but like what are we doing to make it easier for people to actually use it, right?
Yeah.
How are we inviting people to use it? You can't just like build something and expect people to use it. It has to
Yeah.
you have to give them a reason. um, and I think different projects like this are giving more like specific communities a reason to come in and try it out. And I think if we see more and more projects like that, um, reaching out to different communities, maybe that could be a good way to push another cycle through.
Yeah, it could work. I remember the story about stepping up, which actually most of the people even didn't understand that it works on a blockchain,
Yeah.
and most of them didn't know what is Solana is actually at all.
Right.
Like they were just uh, walking to get points and buying shoes or something and selling them. So yeah, sometimes I believe that the best Web3 app should be the app where people don't care if
Yep.
is it work on Web3 on blockchain or not. Uh, just just
It
give
should
them
just
a
work.
yeah. It should just work and have community and be useful for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I believe the last question is like how to become the best DevRel in the crypto.
um I guess if I'm looking at some of like the top DevRels in this space, a lot of them, um, you know, there's probably a combination of different things that help you out. If you're doing things like content, you have I guess a good Twitter following or something like that. It'll help you in the beginning, but over the long term, you kind of like need to look at how your work is affecting the ecosystem of wherever you are. Um, and one thing that I used to say in like my previous jobs to like other like teams I've like kind of like managed before is that DevRel is not about kind of like showcasing us. It's about being a coach for like the different devs and builders in the
Hmm.
ecosystem. So like, how are you unlocking um, good experiences for devs? How are you giving them more opportunities? How are you helping them in their journey? Um, if you're actively helping kind of like the next killer app get into, you know, the right set of circumstances for them to like actually deploy, actually launch, actually, you know, get the resources that they need. That in my books would be a good DevRel. You know, um, you're working closely with your ecosystem teams. You're working closely with engineering teams and everyone. Like I see DevRel as kind of like a glue that kind of brings together a lot of these like
Hmm.
different departments and a lot of these different um, mediums, and yeah, makes that more accessible to like the devs in the ecosystem.
Got it. Thank you so much for the answers. I believe we are done with it. So thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for listening. We will share all links in the under the video. So follow the Twitter. Thank you, Rahat, for being with us today. And bye, guys.
Thank you for having me.